Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today, my friends, we are talking about what is going to absolutely be the next meta rifle in Warzone here pretty soon. We all know Season 4 Reloaded is coming up. It's going to include a decent amount of weapon tuning, and we all expect the NZ-41 to receive a pretty significant nerf because it's been way too dominant for way too long, right? Well, what's next in line? We've talked about some other options, the AS-44, maybe we see the new Vargo S sort of dominate, but there is a sleeper weapon in the game right now that is insanely good, both for sniper support and like some mid-range, but also as a long-range rifle as well. There's a couple of different builds for it, and today we're going over what exactly that rifle is. As we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date. So you may have been able to tell via the thumbnail, but the rifle we are talking about is the Nikita AVT. This thing is actually absurdly good. It's a little trickier to use. It's not this no recoil laser like the NZ or the STG, but it has got very spicy damage. All right, so we are here on TrueGameData. As always, shout out to Tony for putting in the work, getting us this information to break down for you guys. First things first, we got to figure out which Nikita setup is the best, right? So let's go ahead, let's look at the builds here. So you guys can see I've got 6 different builds. There's only a couple of variations here though. It's the magazine, and then it's also the barrel. So they all have the MX silencer on there. Some of them though have the 50 round mag, which is basically just the extended mag. Others have the 60 round drums, which is control increasing but velocity and range reducing. So it's more of that better recoil magazine that we see on a lot of weapons. And then with the barrels, it's either the precision barrel or the sniper barrel or the BFA barrel. All of these are better control, better range, just it's different for every single one of them. And if we go ahead and actually zoom back out a little bit and look at the stats here, you can see the builds here are almost identical except for their damage drop off. So for instance, our hot pink line here is the first one to drop off at 37 meters, and that'd be our build with the MX silencer, the recoil reducing mags, and the sniper barrel, which is the shortest of these 3, right? So that in turn would give you the least amount of range, whereas the most range here is actually going to be essentially the green line and the pink line combined. Both of these are the exact same, so if we were to hide everything else but those, you can see these are essentially the same build. The pink line is slightly better, and that is the MX silencer build, the 50 round extended mag and the 613 barrel versus the 50 round mag and the 548 precision. Now essentially the difference here is that the 613 barrel is going to offer a tad bit more control, but it's also going to be a little bit slower, whereas the 548 barrel is going to be a little bit worse for control. It's still going to help out some, but you'll notice there's a little bit more recoil, and it's going to be a little bit faster. So it's sort of up to you what you think is the better value here. Would you have something that you're going to land your shots a little bit more with, but it's a little bit slower, or faster with a little bit less accuracy? For me, I'm going to take out the speed there and go for whatever I'm going to hit the most shots with, because like I said, the control here is not the greatest in the world. You do have to work a little bit to use this thing. So personally, I feel like this build here with the 613 and the 50 round drums, or mags rather, is the go-to, our pink line here. So that taken into consideration, we can now compare that build to some of these other top meta weapons. So you guys can see here on this next chart coming up, we've got the NZ with its meta build. We've got our newly figured out top tier Nikita build with the MX silencer, 50 round mags, and 613. We've got the bar in there as well, which is top tier, the STG, which is still one of the most used weapons in the game, and the AS-44, a weapon that I also think is going to be a top tier rifle after the NZ gets nerfed, because players are going to start to realize, hey, if I opt for the weapons that maybe have a little bit more control, they actually kill way quicker. So if we were to again zoom out and take a look at this graph here, you can see some pretty interesting results. For what it's worth, the bar has a better TTK than the NZ through the first 33 meters, but then it drops off significantly. The STG, while it is still one of the most used rifles, is the slowest TTK here, basically, despite having no recoil. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. Our NZ, kind of the middle of the pack here. You can see over range is clearly where it excels, but the AS-44 still the dominant king through the first 27 meters here, but it drops off, and you guys can see our hot pink line here, our Nikita, is actually ridiculously good. So the damage range here, the first 44 meters, it has a ridiculous TTK, 0.675. That is so fast for a rifle, and through that range we don't really see that much anywhere else, including on the AS-44 here. You know, even that's well balanced in the mid-range, right? So the Nikita has an insane damage range. Now, it also only has one drop-off. Of course, the AS-44 is going to be better than it and the NZ past 40 meters, but its control is also a lot worse past 40 meters, so it's going to take a lot more skill to use that weapon, whereas the Nikita, well, it's not the greatest control, as mentioned. It's better than the AS-44 in my opinion, and once it drops off, you can see it is right there with the NZ-41. But as we know, the NZ-41 probably going to see some nerfs with Season 4 Reloaded, so maybe we get a damage drop off here that kicks it up closer to the bar line, and suddenly the Nikita is standing out even more than it does already right now, which, like I said, it clearly is competing, and no one's really using this gun. No one's really talking about it. Trust me when I say this thing is worth it. If you can learn that recoil pattern, it has decent mobility already. Like I said, it's got a couple of different builds that we'll showcase here. Like, just in general, the thing is very, very solid. So clearly we got a meta weapon just waiting to happen. We just need these nerfs to fall into place. And honestly, you could even argue it could be meta now because of its ridiculous TTK stats. Also, real quick before we break down this class setup, I gotta give you guys a general PSA. What just happened at the gun there? Did it switch away from the blueprint? Anyways, I wanted to drop this here because obviously the most people are coming for the class setup. This is super important. YouTube has a major issue right now with spam bots impersonating creators and saying, hey, message me on this other app, Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever, and you'll get a prize. Please, please, please do not fall for this stuff. I see it in my comments almost daily. I have had to remove probably 20 plus accounts at this point and delete a ton of messages and try and remind people this is a scam. No one messaging you with my profile picture telling you to message them somewhere is actually me. My YouTube account is verified. If I respond to you, which you guys know, I respond to all the comments. I read every single comment I get, and I always will. I have the check mark next to my name though, and also I wouldn't tell you to message me on a different app. That is all 100% a scam. Please do not message these accounts. Please do not give them any information. They're strictly there to try and steal money from you. So just a PSA, this happens on a lot of other channels as well, and now unfortunately mine. Hopefully YouTube can get it under control, but please do not fall for these spam bots. It is not actually me. But anyways, that out of the way, first up, let's build this sniper support build. So as we saw on the graph, the one that's got the first damage drop off, but still a really consistent mid-range, is going to be our MX silencer build. We're going to use the sniper barrel, which is the shortest barrel in this case. You could also run with the precision though for a sniper support build as well. And in fact, because this has the first damage drop off, whereas the precision is more of that middle damage drop off, you might want to opt for this one. You get a tad bit more range. You're just going to be, again, a little bit slower, so you just keep that in mind. Then also we want to be using the 60 round drums for the sniper support build as well, because it's going to help out with that control and that hip fire accuracy. Even though it's not a super big factor, it's there and it's a part of that build, right? I'd also be going for the 2.5 times optic for a sniper support build as well, just nice and consistent. Also helps out with the control some. Now the stocks here are a little interesting. For instance here, the AVT stock, it helps with that initial firing control, but if we're using that, we got to make sure we're also using other initial firing control perks and whatnot, so we got to keep that in mind. The notch here is just kind of it just helps out with control. Folding is really solid for a sniper support build, but it does hurt your recoil a little bit. The MS, better horizontal control, but that's not really a huge issue on this gun. And then padded is better movement speed, sprint to fire as well. So it's basically between folding and padded here, and they're essentially doing the same thing. I don't think you can really go wrong here. So in this case, we'll go for folding just because its cons are a little bit less than the padded. So folding stock on there. We want to go for the Carver foregrip. There's a lot of vertical control here, so that's going to help out fine with that. We're going to go for lengthened for the better velocity. We're also going to go for the hatched grip on here as well. It's of course always at the top, and I always miss it. Perk 1 here, I feel like Brace is a solid option, but Perfectionist, in my opinion, is a little bit better because it's going to help out more with that general control rather than just the initial firing control. So Perfectionist. Then lastly, we'll go for Fully Loaded or On Hand for a sniper support build. Either of those work just fine, and this is going to be perfect to pair with a 3-line with a ZRG for anything in the mid-range. But then for a long-range build, as we saw on the graph, we want to be using the 613 barrel, which of course is our longest barrel here. Keep in mind the mobility cons that it does come with. We're going to switch over to the basic 50 round extended mag, so the control is not as good, but we also gain some of that back with the longer barrel here. We want to go for a stock that's probably going to help us out a little bit more with general control, so we'll go for the notch or the AVT RS here. But like I said, if you're using the AVT RS stock instead of Perfectionist, you might as well use Brace to stack that initial firing control. So in this case, we're going to go for the notch just because that unfortunately is still busted at the moment. Outside of that, not much else here changes. If you want to continue using the 2.5 times scope, feel free to do so. That would work fine, but so would the 3 to 6 times, especially for more long range fights. That could be very viable as well. And then I'd also be changing to fully loaded. ADS speed doesn't really matter too much in long range, but outside of that, everything else is staying the same. We're going to use the Carver still. We're going to use Hatched as well. And you get a very, very solid, as we saw, medium and long range rifle setup here that easily competes with the other top tier rifles. So that being said, the Nikita is on its way to being a top tier gun. It already kind of is, just the NZ is so easy to use. Players want to use that right now, but come a few days with Season 4 Reloaded, keep your eye on this. It's gonna be great, so long as it doesn't see any surprise nerfs, and I don't really anticipate that happening. So that being said, that's gonna wrap things up for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on the video. And if you're new here, or if you have not already subscribed, you already know every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So there's a plane. Okay, I think it's gone. So feel free to subscribe with those notifications turned on. And of course, as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.